Hi, I'm Russell D. Jones.
I'm Kevin Davies.
And we're here with D6 Mafia talking about the spoilers from Born of the Gods.
Yep. This is what, part 4 of our spoiler videos?
4, 5, did we do 4 yesterday?
Counts.
It's
I guess
the 16th,
yes.
January 16th.
Spoilers for January 16th.
There we are.
Here we
got
go.
some interesting ones for you, so
Yeah.
let's jump right in.
Let's jump right in. So our first one today is a black instant called Bile Blight. It costs 2 black. That's 2 black mana. And it says target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. It is uncommon.
Yeah.
And it is a pretty damn decent black removal spell.
It is a pretty decent black removal spell.
Yeah. Not only does it just kill most of those early game threats that you want to deal with, but it also just craps all over those token generators.
Yeah,
so
and that could be big. I mean, Elsbeth and her little soldiers.
There's plenty of things generating 3/3 beasts and centaurs and soldiers and certainly. And this just kills all of them.
It's a really great removal spell.
It is. Yeah, it's nice to see black getting that support and
they aren't done yet, but
I know.
I guess we'll get there. All right, Our next up on the list is Unravel the Ether. It is a green instant for green and 1, and it says choose target artifact or enchantment. Its owner shuffles it into their library. So this is a god remover right here.
At least shuffles
first thing that pops
shuffles
into my
back
head.
in there. In this set, this card is crazy good, especially in this set, but just in general, very useful.
Yeah, I think arguments can be made that I like it better than Disenchant, personally. Because I've seen too many times my opponents, pulling those artifacts or enchantments out of their graveyard with, one effect or another. There's plenty of them out there. And although maybe they might draw it again in the future, it's sort of short of actually removing it from the game entirely. For the same cost, it basically removes it from the game about as close as the next best thing.
Knowing you probably also like it more than Disenchant because it's in green.
Well, that helps.
It's very, very solid, especially when you want to deal with those gods.
Yeah, just solid removal.
Yep. So next up we have Thassa's Rebuff. It is in a blue instant. It costs 1 and a blue, and it says counter target spell unless its controller pays X, where X is your devotion to blue. So you have to pay 1 for each blue mana symbol and permanence you control. Yeah. That is it uncommon as well.
So maybe not the best counter spell, but I like it that it can counter anything outright, assuming you have the devotion. It's obviously not going to work very well early on. Yeah,
I think a lot of control decks aren't going to like it because generally they tend to not have a lot of permanence on the field early in the game when this spell is really relevant. You have to have 3 devotion to blue on the field to even make it a freaking mana leak.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it like that, not that exciting, but it's still, blue doesn't have a lot of counter spells in this set yet. So, and this is one of the cheapest ones we've seen so far. And plus, we knew the devotion counter spell was coming.
You almost had to see it.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's bad. I mean, it's cheap. It's only 1 blue and 1. So you could splash it if you really had to. I mean, the devotion kind of takes it back, but I could see it in white blue control. Decks running Jace, Detention Sphere.
Yeah,
it's still gonna add to that devotion, and it'll still stop. Big threats. When
definitely,
you
just need to be very mindful of the deck that you put this in, because the worst feeling in the world would just be having this sit in your hand when you have devotion to blue 0, and
with devotion it shuts it down. But I could see maybe being able to trick your opponent. You have that white and blue untapped, and they think, they can put down their big bad. Sure. Whatever it is, Mamma Jamma without
I guess if people are still playing around counter spells at 2 mana, then yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They won't see it coming. So.
I guess so. All right, so
we'll start with it. This is Torment's Herald. It is a 3/3 black creature for black, and 1. It has a bestow of 5, 3 colorless, and 2 black. It is flying, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. And then obviously enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and flying. So my initial reaction to this guy, I was not super excited, but he's growing on me.
Is he really?
Yeah.
You were quite vehemently not happy with this guy earlier.
Well, when you start comparing him to what else is out there, really when it comes to 3/3 flyers for 3 in black, there's been similar things printed before. They always have some little bit of a drawback.
Yeah.
Often that is, maybe you have to pay 3 life and they come out of the gate, or they have the same thing. They're going to bleed you slowly. But then you throw on a relatively cheap bestow cost as far as bestow is
comparatively cheap bestow cost. I think the big thing with this guy is he's relevant early game because he's a 3/3 flyer for 3, and I mean that drawback is not very big, especially black doesn't normally care about that kind of stuff. And then he's still relevant late game if you want to bestow him onto something, because he's basically 3 damage with haste and evasion as long as you have another creature on the field when you bestow him. So on top of getting him back if that creature dies. So I think he's very solid.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's about all I got to say about that guy.
The double black is also nice. It helps with your devotion to black if you're playing a Gray Merchant deck.
There you go. Yeah.
So a lot of
Gray Merchants, or any of those gods that care about black, which there are more and more of them these days. So
if you're loving mono black, you're seeing some love here. Between this and Bile Blight, really solid mono black. Cards.
Today has been a good day for black.
Go ahead, why don't you take next?
So up next we have the archetype of Courage. He is the second in what is apparently going to be a cycle of archetypes. And this particular one costs 1 and 2 white. He is a 2/2 human soldier, and he says creatures you control have first strike, and creatures your opponents control lose first strike and can't have or gain first strike.
Wow.
Yep.
For an uncommon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Totally. On an uncommon guy there, and that's so significant, especially if you're running like a lot of smaller guys. Giving them all first strike is just awesome. Especially cheap price tag, 2/2 body, which
not bad.
It wouldn't be out of line to see that on a 1/1 body just to make him a little easier to deal with. I love this guy, and more so even than the flying archetype, the blue one that we saw earlier.
Yeah, surprisingly better, I would say.
Yeah, that blue one just costs so much.
Yeah, it's 6 for a 3/2. I mean, gives everything flying, okay? I mean...
flying's a big deal.
Yeah.
It basically makes all your guys unblockable.
Pretty much.
Barring reach and stuff. Yeah. But all of this, it's still just... This guy's so much cheaper.
He's just more practical.
He is.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Just that efficiency is there.
If you're waiting to drop that, 6 mana bomb at the end so that you can, fly everything over and kill off your opponent, I mean, I guess maybe, but are you really going to see that in blue?
No, I mean it's more likely that you'd have a bunch of guys that you'd all rush over at once.
Yeah, something. But this fits so easily in like a white weenie style deck.
He already slots right into that sort of soldier white weenie style thing. That's
right. And all of a sudden
it almost builds itself at this point.
Your little 2/2s, that are usually just cannon fodder, are now able to take out your opponent's creatures.
The trades are great.
Punch through. So
the trades get a lot better.
Yeah. So
really
good.
Yeah. Moving on, it looks like we have another black rare.
Yep. This is the Fate Unraveler. It is black and 3, cost of 4 for a 3/4 hag. This is a rare card, and her ability is whenever an opponent draws a card, Fate Unraveler deals 1 damage to that player. So hello Underworld Dreams with legs.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent card. I think my favorite thing about it is seeing the hag creature type getting some love. Because that's a very underrepresented creature type.
Well, sure, very fitting for a Greek theme.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Especially with the fates and stuff, very fitting.
But it's going to fit in some, I think, EDH decks. It's going to see some play.
Definitely any of the ones that, there's a few that play around with punishing your opponents for drawing cards.
Right.
And this fits right in there. It's got a decent sized body, like it's actually kind of hard to remove for 4 and having that effect, which is nice, because a lot of times you expect cards with gimmicky effects like that to just have 1 or 2 toughness.
But not bad. For 4 mana, I mean, I definitely take him.
Yeah, totally.
For sure. Especially in a long, drawn-out game. I mean, if they want to make black more of a controlling color than an aggressive color, I mean, he might.
Yeah, this is sort of the opposite end of the spectrum from the other black rare that we looked at, which was very much an aggressive sort of suicide black card. So it's good to see the breadth of those archetypes still.
Yeah, run this with Drown in Sorrow, things that just keep the board light, and I don't know.
Yeah, some good stuff for black this set.
So, all right, let's move on to, we just have one more card to go over today, and you want to take it away?
Yeah, this is, once again, what is apparently a daily installment of the new two-color gods. This time we have Karametra, the god of harvests. She is the white-green god. She costs 3 and white and green. Like all of the two-color gods, she's indestructible, and she's not a creature as long as your devotion to green and white is less than 7.
Right.
However, when she is a creature, she's a 6/7 creature.
Huge.
Bigger even than most of the other gods we've seen. The other thing is, even regardless of whether she's a creature or not, she has the ability, whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a forest or a plains card and put it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So she's got some mana rampage on her.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I think she's a little more specific. Like some of the other gods we've seen are just generally like good and just bombs, no matter kind of you drop them and your opponent just starts to worry. And she's a lot more subtle.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate for EDH. She won't necessarily put a big target on your head if you're using her as a commander.
Yeah, in a big multiplayer style format, she definitely won't draw the hate like dropping, say the god that makes you sacrifice a creature every turn or take 2 damage.
Morgus, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't think that the people aren't initially excited about her from what I was reading. But
oh, really?
But I think a lot of potential, and some people think they're going to find a place to use her. Maybe mid-range Selesnya decks. If you can get her out on turn 3 or 4, especially with a little bit of ramp, then she'll continue to ramp you out to some bigger, nastier things.
And hopefully that'll speed you towards devotioning her, and then she becomes a significant threat just because she's so big
on her own. Gets you to that big, the white. Big Wrath of God instant spell, cost 7, which
that's true. You could be running that in there.
But yeah, the things that you would normally maybe see at white, you could maybe drop down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I am the least excited about her of all the gods because she's just not as big and splashy and bomby as the other ones we've seen so far. But still, I mean, she fits. She works for the colors that she's in and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Even like Primal Bounty could trigger off her with some synergy.
Drop
your creature.
Well, there's plenty of things that trigger off of lands coming into play, creatures coming into play, especially
good for landfall for sure.
Stuff. Yeah, there's definitely some combo stuff that.
So I absolutely think she'll see quite a bit of play.
All right, yeah. I look forward to seeing what people think up to do with her.
For sure.
So I think there's a lot there.
All right, well, that's all the cards we have for today. I'm Russell D. Jones.
Kevin Davies.
Thanks for watching.